Hi everyone, and I hope this is going to be my first video in anatomy. And now we are going to see about the deep cervical fascia, and which is otherwise called as fascia coli. Okay, first of all, what is meant by deep fascia? The fascia that is present beneath the superficial fascia is called as the deep fascia, right? And here the deep cervical fascia. The cervical, the term means near the neck, okay? Usually the vertebra is divided into five different regions like cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral and the coccyx, right? The cervical region will comes in near the neck. So from the name itself we can know that deep cervical fascia is the fascia that is located near the neck. Okay. We can see every deep fascia is made up of single layer or something else. But here the deep cervical fascia is composed of six different components. And what are they? Investing layer, pretracheal fascia, prevertebral fascia, carotid sheath, buccopharyngeal fascia, and pharyngobasilar fascia. Okay, fine. Before entering into the neck, we have to know some basics about the neck, right? What is the neck and what is its boundary? The boundary of the neck is anteriorly it is covered by means of the anterior median line and the sternal notch. Posteriorly by the external occipital protuberance or extra, yeah, and then ligamentum nuchae and also cervical vertebra. Superiorly by the symphysis mente, base of the mandible, angle of mandible, mastoid process and superior nuchal line, okay, and inferiorly by sternal notch, clavicle, acromion process and the line joining the acromion process and the seventh cervical vertebra. And this is going to be the boundaries of the neck, okay. If we are entering the deep fascia, superficially it is covered by means of skin and the superficial fascia. The skin of the neck is hairless and it has a cutaneous innervation of the ventral rami of C2, C3 and C4. Okay, fine. The superficial fascia is present along with the platysma muscle. The platysma muscle. This is a muscle which is considered to be the remnant of the Paniculus cornosus, and it is usually seen in some animals, and its remnant is seen as platysma in human beings. The superficial fascia contain lymphatic vessels, nodes and small arteries. And this is the platysma muscle. This is going to be the remnant that is present in our human body, and these are the things that is present in these are the platysma muscles, okay. Now we are entering the deep cervical fascia. The deep cervical fascia is quite large as it contains six components. Now we are particularly focusing on the investing layer, that is the first component of the deep cervical fascia. The investing layer. The investing, this is the blue, the highlighted one is going to be the investing layer, okay. And here we must know the insertion. Insertion is superior insertion, inferior insertion and the posterior insertion. First of all, the superior insertion is external occipital protuberance, the mastoid process and styloid process, and here you have the base of the mandible, and these are going to be the superior insertion, okay. And before that you have to see the inferior insertion too. What is the inferior insertion? What is the inferior boundary of neck actually? The inferior boundary of the neck is the suprasternal notch and clavicle acromion process. In the same way, the inferior insertion is going to be the acromion process, the spine of the scapula, clavicle, suprasternal notch, okay. That is, and we have to see the anterior and the posterior attachments. First of all, anteriorly it is attached to the hyoid bone, both upper and the lower side, and this is going to be the investing layer, okay, anterior attachment and also to the mandible. Whereas the posteriorly it is attached to the, you can see the investing layer here, okay, that is from the external occipital protuberance, ligamentum nuchae, and it attaches with the spine of the C7 vertebra, and this is going to be the posterior attachment. A superior insertion provides a covering for the two different glands, that is the major salivary glands, parotid gland and the submandibular gland. Okay, now we are going to see about the parotid fascia. That is the between the angle of the mandible and the mastoid process, the fascia splits to enclose the parotid fascia. Now, as the fascia splits, it forms in two different layers. Here, the fascia is splitted. It forms two different layers. One is going to be the superior lamina, and the other one is going to be the inferior lamina. The superior lamina is thick, okay, and it gets dense and it is gets attached to with the zygomatic arch. The inferior lamina is thin and it gets attached with the styloid process and the tympanic plate. This is going to be the tympanic plate and this is the styloid process, okay. And here it forms a thickening, okay. The deep lamina is thin and it forms a thickening here, and this forms the stylomandibular ligament, okay, the stylomandibular ligament, and it is pierced by the external carotid artery, okay. And here the clinical features of the parotid fascia is whenever there is a swelling in the parotid gland and it causes a severe pain, okay, and the fascia covering the submandibular gland. Likewise, when it reaches, okay, when it reaches the base of the mandible, it encloses the submandibular gland. The superior lamina is attached to the lower border of the body of mandible, and deep lamina is attached to the myohyoid line. And this is going to be the myohyoid line of the mandible, and this is going to be the lower border of the body of mandible. And the special features of investing layer is going to be the two spaces. The muscles enclosed by the investing layer, sternocleidomastoid muscle and also the trapezius muscle, and two different spaces. One is the suprasternal space and the other one is going to be the supraclavicular space. The suprasternal space is otherwise called as space of Bern. The space of Bern, the contents of the space of Bern are sternal head of the sternocleidomastoid muscles, and here interclavicular ligament, lymph nodes and the jugular venous arch. The supraclavicular space contains the external jugular vein, and this is going to be the supraclavicle, the clavicle superior. The supraclavicular space contains the external jugular vein, supraclavicular nerves and the cutaneous vessels including lymphatics. Okay, and here this fascia, that is an investing layer, forms a pulley for two different muscles. One is the omohyoid, this is the omohyoid muscle, and this is her digastric muscles, and here it forms the pulley to withhold these muscles, okay. And the final thing, the clinical importance of the external carotid artery. As external carotid artery is enclosed, or it is gets attached with the wall of the external carotid artery gets attached with the deep fascia, that is the investing layer. It will be remains open, okay. If the vein is, that is external jugular vein is cut, it remains open and it is not closed, so there will be a excessive loss of bleeding, okay. In that case you have to cut the deep fascia so that the vein will be closed and there won't be any leakage of the blood. Thank you.